So these are the old 6x9 speakers that I pulled out of the back of my 4Runner when I rebuilt the side panels. So these had been cut into the plastic side panel by a previous owner. I needed the space because on the passenger side, that's where I'm putting my house battery over the wheel well, and this was over the wheel well in the side panel, so I wanted to shove the battery in as far as possible, and that meant getting rid of this speaker. And then I showed you in an earlier video where I modified the driver's side panel to put a little access area and build some storage in there. So of course that speaker had to go. So I was looking at a way to get speakers back in the 4Runner, because all I have in there is the factory speakers up front, which are I think 3-inch diameter, and they face down. Anyway, I was thinking originally maybe I could build a box to put these in. I looked to see if I could find one already made, but couldn't find any box that would fit these, and I really didn't want to make one. But then I got to looking at these things, and you can see like here this mid-range cone is torn, and you can pretty much just poke your finger through any place you want. These speakers are likely over 30 years old, and in the back of the 4Runner with a soft top on, that's basically an outdoor environment. So I had these from an old surround sound system, and I was thinking of using them, but likewise these are also 35 years old maybe. They still work, but how long are they going to work in the back of the truck? My original plan with these was I would build a shelf across the roll bar and then mount these on the shelf, and then somehow either screw them down, or there wasn't really a mounting bracket with these. And I still had the problem, how am I going to get the shelf to run across the roll bar? How am I going to fasten that shelf to the roll bar? I came back to, these aren't outdoor speakers, they're indoor, and they're pretty darn old. So I spent some time looking for weatherproof soundbars, outdoor soundbars, and I found a lot. There's a lot of them. They're made like for the ATV, UTV market. There's a lot of soundbars, but they're all powered. They have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, HDMI, optical. They have all these fancy things. They've got built-in amplifiers and all that stuff. I just want a plain speaker with speaker terminals, because I've got 2 pair of wires from my stereo that I want to plug in, and I want these to be the rear speakers. So I found this Soundbar from SunBrite. They make outdoor weatherproof TVs, and they also make this soundbar. This is the bracket to mount the soundbar to the TV. This bracket bolts on to the soundbar with 4 bolts, and then normally this here screws into the base of the TV. It's got a recess for the soundbar, and then it's got the 2 pair of terminals here for the speakers. Decided to get that soundbar. It's weatherproof. It's an all metal box. I think it has titanium cones on the speakers. There's 2 passive radiators and I think 2 3-inch drivers. So it's a really nice soundbar. But then I came back to, how do I get this bracket stuck on the roll bar? I, again, don't want to drill or weld anything to the roll bar. It's a roll bar. I don't want to weaken it. But what I found, I was looking around on Thingiverse, and I found this guy that made this really neat pipe clamp model. And so I went and measured the roll bar. So the roll bar itself is 2-inch, 51 millimeter diameter, and then it's got the factory padding, which brings it up to about 70 millimeter diameter here. So I printed this pipe clamp out at 68 millimeters. so that way I'd have a little bit of impression on it. I found that was pretty close, and after playing around with it, I found I could fit that pipe clamp. The top part here would fit on this side of this piece here on the bracket, and then this screw would run into the base here, and then there's just enough room that this is the back of the speaker basically. I modified the file a little bit, so if you look here, here's the original one. I think this model was built for non-flexible filaments. One thing he does is he has this hinge feature in here which thins out the material so you could bend this open. One thing he had in the model was he had a bunch of screw holes here in the base, so I modified the model so I got rid of those because I don't need the holes, and especially he had one hole right here in the center, right at the thinnest part, plus this hinge right at the thinnest part. I also made it a little bit wider. This one I just used a drywall screw in there, and here I just drilled a hole all the way through, and I've got a number 10 machine screw, so I'll put a washer and a lock nut on the back side. So that will basically hold the sound bar up onto the roll bar, but with the factory padding on there, you can roll the sound bar or roll this bracket and the padding will slip on the roll bar. And I don't want to try to grip down so tight that it won't move. I mean, it's going to move because this sound bar is pretty heavy. What I'm going to do to hold it is I've got this Velcro strapping here. I'm going to put a grommet in this side. I'll run this mounting bolt here through the grommet and then into the sound bar, so the bolt will come through on this side. So I'll come around under the sound bar, and then I'll come up and wrap this Velcro tape over one of the support rails for the soft top. But I figured to spread the weight, I'll use the two outside bolts. I got to find my grommet tool and put some grommets in there, and I think we should be ready to go. So stay tuned for that, and as always, thanks for watching.